there's a lot of talk that the Ukrainian army is going to launch a major counteroffensive in the next end of April, May sometime when the weather improves slightly. Good questions, all of them. The Bakhmut is a medium-sized town of about 70,000 people in peacetime. It's in Donetsk in the east of Ukraine. It's in this area called the Donbass, which is the area that Ukraine and Russia have been fighting over since 2014, and which Russia has set as its main goal of this invasion, now that it has these reduced goals, having apparently tried to give up capturing the whole country. Now, Russia has 3/4 of that area, and Bakhmut is on the main road that runs through the rest of the area. So it's a reasonably strategic city. You get that city, and you have a clean break up the road, but it's not make or break in the sense that that road itself runs up, through hills which are very easy to defend and which are now well entrenched by the Ukrainians. So Russia set their eyes on this. They first attacked it in May last year, and then really in full strength in July and August. And that battle's been going on ever since. It's actually now been going on longer than the Battle of Stalingrad. It's sucked in huge amounts of resources from both sides. Certainly, we think estimates of 20 to 30,000 dead on the Russian side are completely credible. Fewer on the Ukrainian side, but still, thousands, maybe 10,000 dead on the Ukrainian side, certainly thousands of men dead. And, it's one of those things where it probably isn't worth it in military terms, those sort of losses. But once you've started a battle like that, you can't really give up, because it acquires a propaganda value of its own. And that's what's happened.
Gosh.
And it's incredibly bloody. As I say, the Russians are using these human wave tactics which date back to the Second World War and the Battle of Stalingrad, which is part of what my piece is about. They developed then, the Soviets, this rather brutal tactic of sending guys over the top and then having a second line behind them to shoot anyone who tried to run away and surrender. So, and they appear to have resurrected that tactic with this now quite famous mercenary group, the Wagner Group, which is composed largely of released convicts. So those men are being killed by the 100.
Yeah. And it is a stalemate, as you've described. Progress is slow, if noticeable at all. And I just wonder what breaks that deadlock, because there will be limited supplies of resources, as you say, of ammunition, of weaponry, and indeed of soldiers, if I can put it like that. It sounds quite callous, really, when I say it like that, but you see what I mean. And I just wondered what can break the deadlock of this stalemate.
It's callous, but it's not you making that decision, right? It's the generals. That's really is how it's being seen. The Ukrainians are worried because, again, it's a very callous way of looking at it. But the Ukrainians have been throwing some of their, most experienced, battle-hardened units into that battle. So the Russians have been losing, convicts recruited from prison. That's just it's not equal losses, and that's something the Ukrainians are worried about, something their Western military advisors are worried about, that although the numbers are on Ukraine's side, again, to put it crudely, the experience of being lost is on the Ukrainian side. We don't know. I mean, the Russians are actually making progress. In the last, they kind of stalled for a couple of weeks, and then they stopped trying to encircle the town and have attacked through the town again, and have been making progress in the last few days. But the real question is whether this will all be, cast into a proper perspective, some might say, by the coming Ukrainian counteroffensive. It may all be disinformation, so bear that in mind. But there's a lot of talk that the Ukrainian army is going to launch a major counteroffensive in the next end of April, May sometime when the weather improves slightly, and and that will probably be on a different front to the Bakhmut front, will involve all their new Western tanks and weaponry, which have been kept out of the Battle of Bakhmut, and will involve in some form a drive towards the sea to cut the Russian occupation forces in half.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then and no one on the Ukrainian side will remember Bakhmut and the losses in Bakhmut. They will regard that as a triumphant holding operation to suck the Russian army into this one point while they attack another point.
Yeah.